They say that a picture's worth 1,000 words, and while that's true, it may not be the words that you think. When you take a picture, you're not just capturing a moment in time, you're also documenting a whole lot of other data, including the type of camera that was used, the date and time that the photo was taken, the settings on the camera, and even the GPS location. Today, I'm going to explain what this data is, why you should even care, and maybe most importantly, what you and I can even do about it. This video is sponsored by Delete Me, the best way for privacy-focused individuals to erase personal information off the internet. The photo I just took here contains 145 rows of what is known as EXIF data, which is a standard format for all these data tags. It includes my exact camera model, date and time of the photo, whether or not the flash fired, and the exact GPS coordinates. Now, let me be honest here. Even though I think the privacy implications of data hidden behind the photos we take are important, the truth is that we've fallen in love with the various features that EXIF data makes possible. If you've ever searched for a photo based on the month or the year that you remember taking it, you can thank EXIF data for that. If you like seeing map clusters of your photos or tracing your recent travels based on photos on a map, again, you can thank EXIF data for that. But what happens when you share these photos? Thankfully, sites like Craigslist, eBay, Facebook, Instagram, and others now strip away most of that EXIF data before posting it publicly. But that didn't always used to be the case. And there are plenty of other places, let's say messaging apps, public forums, online forums, or even your own personal website, where the process to remove that personal data may not exist. So if I were to message you based on a listing on Craigslist to ask for additional photos and then you emailed them directly to me, it's quite possible that I could view the EXIF data to find out which kind of phone you use, which may indicate your economic status, as well as the exact GPS coordinates of your home. And that's a little bit scary. Again, I realize that for some people, the benefits and features that EXIF data allows for outweigh the privacy concerns that I'm describing, but my guess is that most people don't even think about it. And I'll explain a few options to remedy this problem in a moment. But first, let's explore another big issue here: algorithmic analysis. Over the past couple decades, we have been training computers to be very good at analyzing photos. In fact, you know all those CAPTCHA problems where you're asked to identify all the cars or stairs or bridges in a grid of photos? While this process is, in fact, used to authenticate that you are a human, it's also known that these CAPTCHA problems have been used for years to train AI models to understand the contents of an image. Nowadays, I can just type the word dog into the search bar of my iPhone Photos app, and it'll bring up a fairly accurate collection of photos of my beautiful golden retriever, Lexi. Well, almost accurate, I guess. That is a sheep, Apple, not a dog. But see, that's the thing. I never marked these images as having a dog, just like I never mark whenever my wife and son are in a photo. Yet Apple and Google are able to run an algorithmic analysis on these photos and facial recognition in order to categorize and make these photos more searchable. And a quick spoiler here, this AI analysis of your photos, at least on an iPhone right now, cannot be turned off. So as long as you're using the Apple Camera and Photos app, your photos are always being analyzed. This algorithmic analysis is only going to get better over time. And again, while it does allow for helpful search capabilities and arguably pointless features, such as being able to turn my dog into a sticker, I can imagine a time in the not too distant future when this kind of analysis is used to understand your clothing style preferences, your travel habits, your network connections, and so much more. And that's why it's become really important to be careful about how you store and share your photos. Why does it matter how we share our personal information? What's crazy is that there are entire industries out there whose business model consists of finding all this personal information, the photos we share, contact information we publish, data that governments make available, even stuff that we don't mean to publish, collecting all of that data and selling it. That's why I've used a service called Delete Me for the past few years to erase this data from the internet. During that time, they've reviewed over 115,000 listings from 150 data brokers, and every month they continue to make legal removal requests on my behalf. I recognize that putting myself out here publicly on the internet comes with a number of risks, and one of the best ways I mitigate those is by removing as much PII, or personally identifiable information, from the internet as I can. Delete Me is the sponsor of this video, but as a satisfied customer for the past 3 years, I'm confident that it can work for you as well. Visit joindeleteme.com/allthingssecure to see how easy it is to start erasing your personal data online. Right now, Google scans all the photos that you store on their servers. Apple had planned to do that same thing until it faced intense backlash and instead did a 180 by giving us the option to add end-to-end encryption via the advanced data protection feature. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about there, learn why I recommend you turn this setting on and how to do it in that video right there. Now, whether you're storing your photos with Apple, Google, a service like Dropbox, or even when you upload your photos to a place like Facebook or Instagram, you are handing these companies all of that EXIF data that we talked about earlier. Now, they may not publish this info when they make the photo available on their site, but you better believe that these data-hungry companies are consuming and learning from this data. Now, they claim not to use it for profiling you or for advertising purposes, but I really find that hard to believe. I mean, why would they not? It makes sense. And this is where my separation of privacy services philosophy comes into play. Instead of storing your photos on Apple's iCloud or Google Photos, it's actually possible to choose your own encrypted photo backup that respects your privacy. Solid end-to-end encrypted options include services like Proton Drive, Internext, NordLocker, and others. The only problem I've run across is that most of these services make you upload photos individually instead of syncing your entire photo library, which is really annoying to say the least. The best workaround here is to create a backup of your entire phone and just store that in the encrypted drive, and then you have to repeat that process periodically to make sure that it remains updated. So all this talk about EXIF data, GPS coordinates, algorithmic analysis, and we didn't even begin to talk about how AI is starting to identify geographic location based on just the visual contents of a photo. So what can we as consumers do about it? I want to finish this up by giving you 4 important steps that you can take to build better privacy with your camera and photos. First, consider turning off all of this GPS location data for your camera app. On an iPhone, for example, you can go on the Settings app, scroll down to find Privacy and Security, click on Location Services on the top here, and then find the Camera app. The best option for privacy here is Never, but if that's too much for you, then at the very least, I recommend you choose Ask Next Time or When I Share, and then turn off Precise Location. Android is very similar. Open the Settings app, tap Privacy, find Location Services, and then set the proper camera permissions. Second, use some kind of encrypted photo storage. If you're an Apple iPhone user, turning on Advanced Data Protection is a must to add that optional encryption. If you're on Google, finding an alternative encrypted backup is ideal. Whichever you choose, it's important to control the keys to the encryption of your photos, and Google and Dropbox simply don't let you do that. Number 3, did you know that you can use other camera apps besides the native app that comes with your OS? I've been testing the In-Camera app for a while now, which not only locks your photos down with Face ID, it also keeps its own encrypted folders on your device. Even if this seems like overkill for all of your photos, you could set it up where the native camera app on your phone is set to record all the GPS and personal information when you take a photo, and then the In-Camera app or something like that is locked down on all the privacy settings. Then when it comes time to take a photo, you can choose based on the situation and how much privacy you need. Finally, be very intentional about how and where you share your photos. For example, when I go to share a photo on my iPhone, you can see here that Apple clearly tells me that location data will be included in whatever I share. The way to change that is to click into the options here and turn off location. Now you'll see that location is not included anymore, which makes sharing this photo at least a little bit more safe. Now that you understand how to build better privacy with how you take, store, and share photos, you can watch this video next to understand how to erase your personal information online using a service like Delete Me. Or you can just visit joindeleteme.com/allthingssecure to get 20% off and try it for yourself.